car mechanic. That's gonna die. That's wicked.
Does it compare to riding?
A little bit more hectic. That was wild, man. I thought, here I go, I'm dead for sure. Cool. I'll do it again for sure. That was wicked. Thank you very much.
Well, the Wild Boys certainly impressing everyone, not just the girls. There's the 5-second board, the engine's revved, and, well, that's a very strange start there. There's a problem with the Stargate. They're going to have to red flag this one. And, well, they're flagging it with every colour they possibly can, and there's people falling over, and no, I'm not quite sure what happened there. But it looked as if the outside gate dropped early. And you don't see that too often. So we go for the restart now. Riders back in position. So important to get an even start, of course, in motocross. Well, it looks as if Nicol... It's two British riders. There's Kurt Nicol and then there's Paul Mallin out in front there. And there's a bit of a pile-up back here now. And I think that's Gazzarata in there as well. Yes, so problems for the Italian rider, but out in front, Paul Mallin. What's happened to Kurt Nicol? Kurt Nicol has had to go into the pits with a puncture, and that leaves Paul Mallin out in front of a world-class field. He came 11th fastest in practice, and he's absolutely storming round at the moment, Mallin. And Donny Schmidt not looking comfortable at all, and very brave ride from the reigning world champion. And with every lap, his world championship hopes for this year disappearing round the corner. Stefan Everts has now taken the lead. Paul Mallin actually came off in pit's turn. He's back in 6th position and trying to work his way back up. You could see there Albertine going well and Peter Johansson going well. Oh! And that is another British rider, Craig Pratley. And you'll see him just entering here in the slow-mo. He'd already come off the bike before he hit the mud, and it is muddy. Well, a brilliant ride by Everts. No one else in sight at all. Now then, that's Albertine being challenged by Michele Fanton, who's finding form here as well. It's amazing how these different tracks... It's Peter Johansson tucked in behind them too there. But Everts riding like he was riding last year. So exciting. We haven't really seen this sort of riding from him, and he's enjoying this mixture, because some of these, like that left-hander there, is almost like riding a sand circuit, and yet some of the other bits and pieces are very, very stony. Rob Herring's had a stone thrown up at him. Colin Dugmore plonked himself over the handlebars too on the 5th lap, so he's not comfortable. Johansson goes past Michele Fanton. And here's Frederic Bully having a go at Peter Ivan on the inside. Oh, and he went wide and blew it completely. I thought he was going to take him on the inside there. Fred Bully, who came about 7th fastest in practice, starting to find some sort of late season form now. Edwin Evertson, amazing how brave some of these riders are. There's so many guys with injuries and they're still out there riding. Peter Johansson, look at this. After a brilliant first moto, 4th place, he's up into 3rd place. Let's see if he can keep that one going. So Yamaha's producing some good performances here, but it's the Suzuki of Everts that's out in front, leading the Honda of Albertine. And Albertine closed up his gap quite nicely. There's Johansson. There is Fanton, and Paul Mallin working his way back up through the field again there. It's a good ride by the young Englishman. Talon Volan, who was 5th in the first moto. I would have thought that Albertine at this stage was... Now there's poor old Donny Schmidt riding a brave race, as I said earlier. I would have thought that Greg Albertine would just be hanging on to 2nd place. There's no point in risking an accident at this stage. a win and a second, and a good position in third. He's so far ahead in the championships. I know he doesn't want to be reticent about his riding, but I can't believe this. Malin's now up into fourth place. And here's the battle for sixth and seventh. Billy Lyles just keeping off Talon Voland. And that's Edwin Evertson of broken finger fame riding through there. That's Peter Yven, number 13. So the win goes to Stefan Everts. What a brilliant outing in Ireland for Everts. Albertine taking off his goggles, all muddied up. A good second place for him. Peter Johansson, another great ride ahead of Paul Malin in fourth position. The best outing for him this season. And we get a chance to speak to Peter Johansson.
So you had some luck this time, or it was just your strength?
Yeah, Malin was pushing for me. That's quite hard in the end, but I had like 20 meters all the time, so I was not really worried. But a good start and a good ride again.
So this is the Peter Johansson from last year?
Exactly.
5 seconds for moto number 3 in the Murphy's Irish Stouts. Irish Grand Prix, and another fast start. I can't believe this. Now I think a couple of the riders on the left there started to go a bit too early and jammed up the start gates. So although it was Everts who got the pole shot, they're all there, aren't they? Kurt Nickel again. My word, he's riding well. Now the second start, and they're all cleanly away this time. And I don't believe it. I think Everts has got whole shot again from where I can see. A lot of dust now. Look at it developing as the afternoon wears on. Everts is there. Nickel is there. Albertine is there. Mikhaili Fanton is there. And Everts is riding like a king. This circuit rarely suits him. Nickel is second. Fanton is fourth. Werner de Witt is fifth. And they're all streaming through. The crowd's turning out. And Bouzard is down. He's had a totally devastating season, and he's left poor old Frédéric Bolly lying down there on the ground. So those are the first three, with Albertine choosing his time and Everts just pulling away and away. I was saying about the crowd, it's quite extraordinary. There weren't that many spectators out here for the first moto, but by the time they'd been to church and been to the pub, they got down here for the third moto, and there's a huge 15,000 turnout for this third heat of the 10th round of the World Championships. Well, Donny Schmidt is still riding through there, wearing his number 1. Albertine into second place now. That leaves Nickel in third place. Mikhaili Fanton in fourth place. Werner de Witt fifth. Peter Johansson sixth. And that's Billy Lyles going through, bruised though he is from Fox Hills. And Evan Evertson right behind him. Bouzard looks as if he's finished his day. He's going to check his bike back into the pits. And there you get a very good indication of the number of rocks there are on this circuit, and they're throwing them up and hurting all sorts of people. Peter Johansson moving his way up through the field, riding absolutely brilliantly today. It's good to see Murphy's Irish Stout sponsoring this event, seeing as I've got a vested interest in their products. And through goes Johansson there. And rumour has it there's going to be a big Irish-type party after this event closes down that'll probably go on until the early hours of the morning here with true Southwest Irish hospitality. Stefan Everts will be having none of that. He wants to keep his senses sharp because right behind him is Greg Albertine. Right behind him is Kurt Nickel. And hasn't this man come of age? Kurt Nickel, who moved up from 500cc and was the butt of a lot of rude criticism before the season started, has blown all his critics away. Now then, look at this on the inside. Peter Johansson going past Mikhaili Fanton. And look how fast this man is on his Yamaha today. He's up past Fanton into fourth position. And there's Evertson. And there's Lyles. Fifth and sixth. Local boy, Farrelly, up the hill, all the dust. There's a battle royal going on behind him with Talon Voland kicking up the dust into the face of British Paul Malin. And the Crowd getting a good dust bath there as Kurt Nickel hangs on to third position. Fourth is Edwin Evertson. Quite big gaps between these riders now. They're really spread out. And incredibly fast lap times. They're lapping at over 37 miles an hour here. That's 54, 55 kilometers an hour. It just shows what a flat-out circuit it is. Donny Schmidt. That's Colin Dugmore. He's just gone past, and Colin's feeling pretty sore after his crash. But the win goes to Stefan Everts, and that makes it an overall for him. Greg Albertine in second position. Kurt Nickel in third position. Edwin Evertson with a dodgy little finger in fourth position. There he goes through, and that's Billy Lyles, recovers from Fox Hills now, put all that behind him. So let's have a look at the result. Confirmed as I gave it to you there. And yes, we're in the dockland of Poland. And the event takes place actually in a place called Gdynia. A lovely display of spring colours in the town. And out on the circuit, plenty of colours too as we run down through some of the big names. Pedro Tractor, Mikhail Pichon, Frenchman, coming well. Dave Strybus, problems, we'll tell you more about that later. He ain't going to be competing here. Yves de Mariard making a tremendous comeback at this stage in the season, riding like he was last year. Remy Van Race. So they line up for Heat 1. And we'll see who gets the whole shot out here. My odds are on that de Mariard, but he isn't actually. He's well positioned, but it looked very much to me as if that was Andrea Bartolini. And there's another Bartolini gone down amongst this lot. And Daryl Atkins is down there as well. And the Dutchman Marcel van Drunen, number 71, trying to restart his bike. Let's have a look at it again. So you can see the front runners who choose their gates, of course, dependent upon their qualifying. They get clear away from the melee on the first corner. It's always the way. And that's why it's so important to get good times in qualifying. And it's a real muddle there with Frédéric Vial, the French rider. But out in front now, Yves de Mariard. Once again, one of these circuits where the corners have got a nice sort of sandy feel to them there. Remy Van Race well positioned. Andreas Bartolini has dropped back a fraction there. John van den Berg is finding a little bit of form now. But Yves de Mariard riding absolutely beautifully. I remember in seasons gone by, we always used to rate him as being the next Jean-Michel Bayle, and then he went through a period where he wasn't riding like Jean-Michel Bayle at all. It was a disastrous time for him. And it looks as if the Dutch domination of the 125cc series so far this year is a bit in doubt. Pedro Tractor still out there, but not going very well here at all. This man riding with an air of confidence. You can tell when people have got the bit between their teeth. They just seem to be riding well. Remy Van Race, he likes it here. He won in one of the motos here last year. You can see how sandy it is in some of the sections on the corners. But it looks like a moto win for Yves de Mariard and Suzuki. Remy Van Race, a great second place. And then Joachim Carlsen, also Suzuki, in third place. And that battle between Mikhail Pichon and Peter Berra ended up with Pichon fourth and Berra in fifth position. There goes Carlsen through. There goes Pichon, the young Frenchman. He likes these sort of circuits. Doesn't like the deep, heavy sand. And the German rider, Peter Berra, coming up nicely. So as the riders get the 15-second board for Heat 2 of round 4 of the 125cc Motocross World Championships, let's see if we can get them away to a cleaner start around this first right-hander. The wind blowing, the engine's revving, and they scream away. I can't see who's got the first ride in. Very much like me, Alessio Chiodi, but there's been another big pile-up, but none of the main riders are involved in that, thank heavens, and they're out in front. De Maria's looking good again. Carlson is riding well, and there's a battle again between Berra and Pichon. Now Pedro Tracta, number 3, the championship leader, is well positioned on this second moto. He wants to try and preserve. Well, it's Chiodi in the lead, and there he is being challenged by Van der Berg, and they're hammer and tongs at it with De Maria keeping a safe distance behind them. So Van Drunen coming through. There's Pedro Tracta and Bartolini. The Italians improving round by round in the 125cc championship. And number 19 is young Michael Pichon, the French rider, on the Honda, having another head-to-head battle with Peter Berra, the German Van der Berg. Now he's really got to keep an eye over his shoulder because Yves de Maria is looking to pick exactly the right time to get past him. And it's such a mixture of surfaces here, and some of the jumps are quite tremendous if the guys get them right. Look at the different line that de Maria is taking, using the ridge on the outside, riding fluidly around the course, and really finding some tremendous form. And the field sort of really spreading out a bit now as Joachim Carlson goes through. And that's Chiodi and Tracta having their little battle as Tracta moves up into 3rd place and showing us a bit of his championship leading form there. It's a nice jump there. Marcel Van Drunen being chased by Van der Berg, Bartolini. Peter Berra making a move. He goes past Van Drunen into 4th place, and he's having a storming ride. It's amazing the different feel here as Yves de Maria moves into the lead. What a tremendous weekend so far for the Frenchman. Pedro Tracta hanging on in there after a fairly disappointing first moto. Peter Berra not making any mistakes at all, and no one really challenging him. That's Alessio Chiodi, and a little cluster there with Michael Pichon and Van Drunen, all challenging for lower places, but all important points, of course. Leon Gisbers having a go there at John Van der Berg, Honda for Honda. Look at this jump. Tremendous shot as Yves de Maria takes the checkered flag for a brilliant win ahead of Joachim Carlson, Pedro Tracta, and Pete Berra gets a 4th place, and Michael Pichon, the Frenchman, in 5th. Those two neck and neck once again. So the scene set for the 3rd moto. And the way de Maria is looking confident and relaxed. If he can get a good start, and I don't believe this. This is the 2nd false start. They're going to be waving the red flag, but every other colour is being waved and dropped. So here we go for the restart of Moto 3. Let's see who gets the whole shot up the hill here. And it looks as if the young Frenchman, in all of the dust and the noise, is way out there in front. Not too bad a pile up here. It's not going to affect our front runners at all. Although Daryl Atkins, the New Zealand rider, had a bit of a problem there. So now the two who've been battling it out in Motos 1 and 2, Peter Berra, number 7, Michael Pichon, number 19, are actually vying for a position on the podium. Yves de Maria didn't get such a good start, but he's working his way up through the field now. There's the young Frenchman, Michael Pichon, leading at the moment. Peter Berra in 2nd place. Pedro Tracta, the championship leader, over the hump now. And he's in 3rd place, as you can see from the caption. Yves de Maria not making much of an impression on him at this stage. And then the 2 Italians, Chiodi and Bartolini, are racing for their lives back there in the pack. And it really is a pack challenging for sort of 5th, 6th and 7th position at the moment. You can see number 11 is Chiodi coming towards the camera now. And Leon Gisbers having a crack at those two, trying to split up the Italians. But the young Frenchman getting a great ride. And that's Massimo Bartolini having a go at Leon Gispers. And you can see Gispers hanging on to it with that outside line, enjoying that bit of sort of sand that he's so used to. And mixed in amongst them is the Suzuki rider, Joachim Carlsen. Now then, Alessio Chiodi and Bartolini having a crack at each other. And into the lead goes Peter Berra. He's overtaken Michael Pichon. And this is a wonderful performance from the young German. Michael Pichon in second place, Pedro Tractor in third place. Round 11 of the World 250cc Motocross Grand Prix takes place in the exotic location of Venezuela, Maracay. And look at this, traditional South American color and glamour in a sort of a subtropical atmosphere. And the boys, during qualifying and practice, have found it very, very hot out on the circuit. But big crowds turning out, very, very well supported. And of course, this is the transatlantic end of the World Championships, with the boys moving up to Budds Creek in the States for round 12. So tremendous atmosphere, but a very different circuit here. It's quite an old-fashioned sort of circuit in a funny sort of way. And you'll see what I mean. They built a new tabletop here, but there are quite a lot of quite old-fashioned jump ramps here. But they lay it all on, as do the sponsors, and we've got lots of colour, lots of glamour. Let's have a look at the standings with Greg Albertine in orbit. Stefan Everts, the only guy who can possibly catch him now. Donny Schmidt hasn't been going that well. Kurt Nickel quite well positioned there. Rob Herring not happy at all. Tramper Sparko, of course. Bob Moore out of it at the moment. Werner de Witt did quite well last time. And Alexander Pouzard has been making quite a comeback. As far as qualifying and the time session this morning for gate positions, Albertine, Schmidt and de Witt really did get good positions. Everts, though, feeling strong, not worried by the weather at all. Kurt Nickel just in the background there. Albertine, looking relaxed. Dynamic, this young man, so dynamic. So as we move off with Heat 1 of round 11 of the World Championships, it goes to a sort of a left-hander here, and it's quite sort of sandy, the first section, and Pouzard gets the whole shot. Pouzard is in front. And as you see there, Greg Albertine moves ahead on the first lap of Pouzard. Everts is in third position, and the excitement starts already with Edwin Evertson well placed. Donny Schmidt with the number 1 there. Kurt Nickel in contention. Werner de Witt number 24. And of course, Michele Fanton on the Honda 2. But out in front is Greg Albertine. Now, a little bit about this course. You can see it's a little bit wet. Pouzard's still hanging on to it, but Everts is challenging at the moment, isn't he? It's a little bit wet. They watered it down really, really early with a chance to let it dry out because they didn't want it to be muddy. And Pouzard keeping off that challenge from Everts. There's that tabletop I was telling you about. But there are areas of this circuit which are still a little bit muddy, and then other bits that are very, very sandy. It is a fast circuit too. The boys are running here at over 50 kilometers an hour average speed, and some big long straight sections really allow them to wind open the throttle and lay down some power and some speed along the back straight. Now, lovely turnout, considering it's sort of so sandy. There's plenty of trees here. There's a little bit of grass as well. There goes Kurt Nickel going through, and that was Peter Johansson, who's also been doing quite well. Paul Malin, he's running around 14th at the moment and not particularly happy with his performance. I have to say that Kurt Nickel's the only one of the Brits who's been showing any form at all, the Castrol Honda UK rider. But out in front is Greg Albertine, and this is the battle between Schmidt and Everts. It's funny when you look at them taking that table time, it doesn't look all that fast, does it? But it is fast here, and it's a difficult and tiring circuit to ride when it is so humid. It doesn't look like bright hot sunshine, but it's semi-tropical here. You can see the grandstands have got shades on them to keep the sun off. It's very, very humid, and the boys have been taking on board a lot of water. Evertson still going for it there. There's a really good battle actually between Evertson and Lyles and Beverts. It's a sort of a Kawasaki battle, and they're all challenging for 4th, 5th and 6th place, and it's a real to and fro humdinger that you can't really see at the moment. So Everts into 2nd place on lap 5, and there is the Kawasaki battle I was telling you about. Lyles and Beverts and Evertson. We should see him in a minute. Yep, through he goes. And Kurt Nickel running there or thereabouts as well, showing the strength. It's lovely to watch Albertine ride, you know, very reminiscent of the days when Jean-Michel Bayle was making us watch events like this with our mouths open. He's so natural, so fluid, and totally fearless as well. So Lyles in 4th position, Beverts 5th, and the old pit board's coming out now. Pass Evertson. That's for Kurt Nickel. Through he goes, and keeping Donny Schmidt at bay. They're having quite a good to and fro. And so the checkered flag goes to Greg Albertine one more time, with Everts hanging on to 2nd place despite bad errors in lap 9 and lap 14. And the battle between Donny Schmidt and Kurt Nickel ended up with Schmidt just passing him on lap 11, 3 laps before the end. And a good ride by Paul Mallin, who eventually